So here's some more footage from the other day with Rosie the pit bull, and we are getting ready to walk over to the Saturday market. And for this little stretch here, you can see I gave her a couple corrections, nothing fancy, but for this little stretch, now that we're walking, I got the family right behind me, and I want her to have good manners and not be in the way of anybody. Like, I don't want anybody to trip over her or anything. So I'm being a little bit more demanding, but at the same time, you can see I'm giving her space to do her thing. It was just few during that little bit of space through those few chairs that I wanted to keep her close. I let her walk around the other side of the sign. We come over here towards the intersection and kind of stand around for a little while. I'm basically just giving the family some instructions about how to observe her body language and always be in a cooperative state of communication with her rather than getting nervous that she's misbehaving. I'm not really focused on her behavior. I'm focused on her state of mind, because I know that when she's in the right state of mind, not only will she be relaxed and able to learn, but by learning and being relaxed, she'll be able to really form new habits that really stick and just become a totally integrated member of the family, able to participate in all the family activities. And that was the goal of the thing today, because when we were starting out with her, she was wanting to pull all over the place, the stuff, the last training session, and we've slowly just given her the space to figure it out on her own. And you'll notice throughout the whole training session, I'm not being super demanding of her, and that's the point. A month from now, if I was her owner, I would be much more demanding of her. And all you can see I'm doing here is just not letting her get too far away from my influence. I don't want to put too much space in between her and me at this point, just in case something came up or I needed to help her out to cope with it. I want to be in a position to influence her. So here we're doing kind of like we're technically just talking, but at the same time, the kid is totally bored at this point, which is completely understandable. She's super little cool kid, being really well behaved through the whole long training session, and at this point she's a little antsy, so I'm trying to use that on purpose to help Rosie. See, Rosie's comfortable when all the energy is calm. The family is a little bit different than walking around with one person who's totally focused on the dog. So part of this training exercise is I need to let Rosie really feel this energy from the family, while still learning that that's normal and that she doesn't want to get excited. On our next training session, which will probably be the last one with her, I'm going to have the owners handle her and walk and learn all the ways to do the subtle communications with her, with them on the leash instead of me on the leash, because this was such a important training session for Rosie to really learn the new ways of being relaxed and not wanting to pull around and that kind of thing. I did most of the handling in this training session, but the goal is to always have the owners obviously be able to do it. So that's what we're going to do next time. But for this time, I'm trying to let her participate as close to the family as can. See how she's wanting to walk with the family instead of me, and that's what I want. My goal when I train a dog is not for me to bond with the dog. It's for the dog to just relax so that they can learn their boundaries and their role within the family. I'm not trying to replace her owner. I'm just here as a guide for the dog so that she can learn. See, now we're crossing in the street. I'm letting her go ahead because there's already people in the crosswalk, but you see how she's looking back. It's real important here for me to not be too demanding of her, because I need her to really learn how to be. So I just need to give her as much leeway as possible with some really specific, very clear, very fast corrections, and then just let her go back to doing her thing. So you see how she's walking in front of us here. This is something that, it's not ideal, but at this point of Rosie's training, it is ideal, because this is what's helping her learn. Like I said, and I'll say it again, I'm not focusing on her behavior, which in this case would be the fact that she's walking 5 feet in front of me. That's behavior. I'm focusing on her state of mind, which is curious, way less excited than she was before, and I'm respecting that gradual transition from where she was to where I want her to be. So her state of mind is perfect right now for what I can expect from her in a fair way. And that's why I'm not focusing on her behavior as much. Normally I would want my dog walking where they can see me, not feeling like, they get ahead. But we're not there yet. So right now, as long as I can get her to relate to this space in a calm way. So now that she's getting a little bit too state of mind ahead, I'm going to stop and do this exercise. I gave her one correction, reoriented her, because she was totally starting to completely ignore us. And then you can see she's like, okay, I'm cool. But what I'm going to do to help her further is parking lots are one of my favorite areas for her, because watch, I'll just go and I'll just start walking around between cars. And that's really helpful for the dog because it teaches them not to focus their attention too far in front of us. So now I come back to the family and then we go back around between some cars. And a lot of times when I'm working with a dog, I'll spend a lot of time in parking lot like this going back and forth in this totally random way with the goal of helping the dog formulate a connection to like the space that we're trying to create and share together, as opposed to being predictive of what's going to happen. So now we're over here at the other spot. We walked over to the Saturday market. I froze the frame here because she's really happy. She's really having a good time, and that's how it has to be. If you want your dog to really learn, you have to make it enjoyable for them. It can't be this stressful. Well, there'll be moments of the experience which have brief periods of stress for the dog, but it's not a stressful experience. It's a fun experience that has little blips of focus and, hey, I need you to pay attention real quick. Okay, we're back to being like relaxed again, that kind of thing. So overall, it's like really relaxed experience for the dog. Like she'll go home, after a training session like this and be very content. She'll feel it in her bones, she'll feel like, okay, that was a good day, and then she'll sleep good and it'll sink in. So here we are, we're just doing we're kind of chit-chatting about, I try and keep things as focused as possible because the time is valuable. Like when I have the time to go hands-on with the dog, it's I want to maximize it. So we're not just standing around, talking about the weather or, our favorite movie that we just saw. I'm like constantly like sharing observations that I have about what's going on with Rosie's state of mind, what I need the owners to be paying attention to in the future for her to be able to sustain this state of mind, and just kind of general dog stuff as it pertains to their situation and their specific dog. So as we're hanging out over here, I'm just using the leash and just using all the stuff that Rosie's already familiar with to just give her some seat time, like give her some time to just get used to this vibe. Because if we were to just come over here and hit it real hard, I'm like, okay, I gotta be somewhere, we're done. It's cool, but the longer that we can like give her the time, like now that the training session is pretty much like over, and it's like, but it's never really over. And that's kind of what I'm trying to explain to the owners at this point is like, yeah, we're done training her, but like every moment of energy that you share with your dog is training. So you never want to forget that. So by giving Rosie the opportunity now to kind of unwind from this day, she gets to pick if she wants to stand in the sunshine or in the shade, or if she wants to walk behind me and stare at the crowd over there, or go stand next to the family for a while. She has complete freedom right now, and that's part of her rehabilitation process and a very important part of her learning process, because she has to feel like she's making the choices. I'll give her some guidance, to help her make better choices when she starts to you know, get confused or something. But for the most part, the only way this really works is she has to feel like she's the one that's making the choices. So, this video goes on for a little more. I'm just, doing a voiceover. I don't really remember what happens next. I know we wound up walking away from here, heading back to their car, because I was like, where are y'all parked? And then we start heading back to the car. And basically we're just giving the dog a chance to just like let all that happened today sink in to her brain and her muscles and her whole body vibe, so that it just becomes a normal part of her thing. We need to put as much weight on this end of the balance scale as possible, because in this situation, like a week before this training session, she would have been much more excited in this same situation. She would have been trying to bump noses and jump up on the family and climb their legs to get them to pay attention to her, because she would have needed reassurance. By doing these training sessions with her and teaching her to learn how to not need constant reassurance, but to learn how to feel comfortable on her own, then we're really just setting her free. When I first met Rosie, there was no way she would be able to have stood here like this and to have enjoyed this level of freedom. She would have been having to be under control, or basically not even be here in the first place, because she would have been way too excited. Everybody that walked by, she would have been trying to pull to go say hi to them, super excited, and it would have made some people happy, but at the end of the day, it's no good for her. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, she's not laying down because she's exhausted from the activities of the day. She's laying down because she's being a dog finally. And a dog is going to usually just lay down once they realize they're staying still if there's nothing going on. And for me to see her lay down, I didn't praise her for it. I didn't make a big deal out of it, because I want her to feel like it's really normal. But for me in this moment, even though I'm still carrying on a conversation with the owners, my heart is like just beaming with joy right now, because to see this from her after what we did today in her training session, and you see just get up on her own, but not out of excitement, or she just stood up and she's doing her thing. This is like what makes it worth it for me, because I just, you can just tell in the way it feels that the dog is really changing, and it's beautiful, and it's why I do this. I mean, I do this to pay, to sustain myself, but it's amazing to see this this kind of transformation with a dog. And so now we're heading back to the car, and a lot of stuff is, I told the owner to just film the dog as much as possible, because I want to show you guys as much of her body language as possible, so you can learn how to read the dog. But there's a lot going on outside of the camera. Like, we're not in the same kind of dense crowd as we were before, but we're on the outskirts of the Saturday market, and we're basically walking right through where the farmer's market just closed. So there's all kinds of smells everywhere. There's people still off on the outskirts, shutting up their booths and whatnot, packing up stuff. So she, I'm not focused on her behavior as much, as long as she stays curious. You see, I give her a little corrections to stay back, but you notice the first thing that she did, and you might want to pause it and rewind it. As soon as I made her stop, she immediately started sniffing in her nose, which is like great, because it's like she's still wanting to be curious, but she's learning that she can be curious using her other senses, like her nose, her eyes, her ears, just her general sense of awareness. I'm trying to teach her how to observe energy. So the fact that she's walking in front of us right here, I'm not really that concerned about it because she gave us a lot today. She was really, really good. And so this is kind of like her little reward. I'm doing a voiceover and a motorcycle just went by. I apologize about that. But this is her reward for the day. So letting her, as long as she's staying safe, I'm just letting her have this wide berth, like, because I want her to learn how to function with us in space without feeling like she needs to be totally focused on like staying right next to me. So here we come up on some smells. I'm just explaining to the owners as we walk through here that I want her to smell all this stuff, but I'm not going to let her get fixated on something. And if she stops, I'm not going to make a big deal to correct her. I actually just like bumped her in the back because she was in the way, and that's what we're joking about. I'm like, she needs to figure out, like, if she wants to like walk right in front of you while you're walking and then stop, that's totally rude behavior. And that if I nudge her, it's got to be done with the right energy. Like, it's not like you do it out of like any kind of punishment, but to literally just like walk right through her. Like, if she was to stop right there, I would just keep walking and I would naturally just bump into her. And that's the key word, naturally. Like, I wanted her to feel what it felt like natural bumping into her, not like someone trying to kick her out of the way or trying to, yank her back so that they can pass. Like, just, hey, we're trying to cooperate here, and if you stop in the middle of the path, you're going to get bumped into, but it's not like I wanted to bump into you. See, and by doing the body language with that kind of energy, and I'm blocking her here from some smells because I don't want her to get too fixated, and I can already tell. You just learn to read the dog. Like, I give her a chance to go potty right before this, so I know she wasn't needing to go potty. So that's why when she stopped there and wanted to start squatting, it was just to cover some other dog's smell. So I was just like, come on, we're not doing that. We're already at the intersection. Let's do our thing. So I just turn around a circle here to just say, hey, we're getting ready to cross the street. I don't want you like launching out 5 feet in front of me into the street. But I did it in a super nonchalant way. And that's why she's totally just standing here now. Like, oh, okay, cool. I'll just stand here now. Because I made no big deal about it. I'm like, just get back over here, and that's what it is. So when you're communicating with your dog, once you get to a certain point, you're going to start realizing that less is more. In the beginning, you might not be able to feel that vibe, but as you get the dog dialed in and they're familiar with what your expectations are, you're going to be able to accomplish a lot more communication with the dog using a lot less body language. The dog will just pick up on what you're putting out, and that's why I say less is more. And so we're pretty much getting close to their car. A couple more minutes here and we will be wrapping this video up. If you have any questions about what you've seen in this little few videos that I put up recently with this dog Rosie, please reach out. Pit bulls are my favorite breed to work with because I'm just real familiar with how they're wired. They get a lot of judgment, and even though they're very sweet dogs, they have a real, let's say, they don't have as much leeway or grace that extended to them as other dog breeds would have. Meaning, like, if a Chihuahua is barking at a person going by, that's one thing. If a Pit Bull's barking at a person going by, that's a totally different thing. So I'm all about the Pit Bulls. And because they're so common and they're really good with people and kids and stuff, there's a lot of them out there that are in families where they're the perfect family dog, but because they're an active working breed dog, there's some situations where the families is not really sure what to do. So if you have a Pit Bull dog specifically, and you have any questions, I would be a good one to get in touch with, because this breed is kind of like my bread and butter, so to speak. I've had pit bulls in the past. They're my favorite breed to own. I like them for a lot of different reasons. They're very loyal. They're not the most loyal. They're not the most anything. But one thing they are is they're incredibly sweet, and they're very malleable, meaning like they're very responsive dogs to train, even though it might seem like they're really headstrong, which they are. But when you can communicate their language, they're some of the most eager dogs to actually like work with the owners, which makes that part of the job easier, because if the owner can get on board and do a few things that make sense to the dog right out of the bat, then the dog is going to be responsive, and it'll give the owners a chance to continue to communicate with them. And that's just something that makes me happy. So you can see she's totally stoked. This is her reward. I had to get her behind a little because the owners went ahead and there was something going on. But as we walk by, you know, I just want her to learn, like, just because the owners are up there now, don't pull me towards them. And that's why her final training session is going to be all about the owners handling her, because she needs to learn how to not equate their presence and their energy with excitement. And once she can reach that point, it's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. And right at the end of the video, when we stop here, I pause this because I want you to see the look in her eyes. I'm technically holding the leash, but I'm already teaching her how to walk with her family, setting her up for the next session. I hold her back from manners so that people can go by. But watch this right here. When we stopped across the intersection, look at who she looks at. She sits and looks at the owner. Watch, see? This to me is what it's all about, because it shows me that I'm doing my job as a trainer. I want to disappear from her life and have her not miss me. I want her to bond with the family. And it takes a certain subtle communication to be able to influence her while still encouraging her to bond with the family. So the video is over now. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.